Well, first of all, what kind of mythical powers does a Sun Devil have? We got to consider that.
Now, Terrell, run the road again!
Hey guys! Hey! I'm having a press conference, okay?
Their fat little girlfriends have some obvious advantages. For one thing, their fat little girlfriends are telling them what they want to hear.
It's Division I football! It ain't intramurals!
It is not intramurals. It is the Hoppy Huddle podcast. And we are back, and we have got a monster of a show lined up for y'all today. We have got so many fiery hot takes to be spewed. We have got conference championship week previews. We've got national signing day reactions. We've got a million things going on, and this is a banger show, so just stick with us. And, man, it's good to be back.
I guess they're ruining the sport. They ruined it
Oh,
last night.
come on.
They ruined it. I mean, we can get into this whenever we want, but it's just ridiculous. I'm filled with fuming.
I can tell you're really, really happy about the college football rankings. See, here's the thing. I am not angry about it because I accepted this was a fact when they left out Florida State last year. And so I already knew what was going to happen, and I told you what was going to happen. And so I'm not really, my emotion has been flatlined. I had this reaction a year ago.
These are the same spineless hypocrites who told us that a 13-0 Florida State team wasn't good enough. These are the ones that are whining about a 9-3 team. But they were the ones who were like, it's not good enough. I mean, we'll break
all right, let's just dive into playoff rankings first, since that's clearly what we got.
Well,
so we got a little bit to talk about, but
so I mean, the rankings were probably no real big surprises. I mean, Ohio State did drop to 6, which I thought was a little rough. I think why they dropped behind Georgia is beyond me. The biggest shocker was that Miami dropped to 11, and somehow Alabama went up 2 slots to 11. So Alabama was slotted over Miami, and basically Ward Manuel, the CFP chair, is basically saying in not so many words that, well, the season's over. At this point, they're basically locked in. And basically, they're giving as the way it reads now, Alabama's going to get that last spot unless Clemson beat SMU, and then who knows what will happen. And this is where all hell broke loose on Twitter last night because, I mean, Lane Kiffin was firing off nasty tweets at the ACC. People in the ACC were firing back at Lane. Everybody was taking pot shots at Alabama. And, I mean, you cannot make the case for Alabama. I'm sorry. You can't. Other than they got that nice little A, they got the SEC patch, it's the brand. Because Ole Miss can make a better resume. BYU can make a better resume. South Carolina, Miami, we go down the list. I mean, there are so many reasons. Let's talk about the last 3 games. Yes, Miami lost 2 other last 3. Those are their only 2 losses. Okay? They lost to Georgia Tech, a team which, oh, by the way, just took your vaunted SEC team to, 8 overtimes?
Great game.
Yeah. And they lost to Syracuse, who's ranked, by the way. And why is Syracuse ranked behind Illinois and Missouri is beyond me. I mean, let me break that down for a second. Okay. Because I want to make some arguments here.
Let me hear it.
I have the floor, so.
Let me hear it.
Yeah, let me get to my notes. So Miami should get more credit for this Syracuse game. They're like, oh, they lost to Syracuse. Can we just talk about Syracuse for a second? They have no business being behind Missouri, UNLV, and Illinois. Because first of all, they've got a win over UNLV. Why are they behind them? Okay. They've got more ranked wins than any of those three combined. And any of their losses are no worse than any Missouri got nuked twice and Illinois got nuked. I mean, so this committee has given no credence to Syracuse, dropped them down, which pushes Miami's rating down. All right. So let me get back to Miami's case. Miami lost to Georgia Tech, lost to Syracuse in a tough matchup. Syracuse should be ranked higher. That should be a good quality loss according to the committee's terms. If they're
I hate quality losses.
But if you're an SEC team, it's a quality loss. If you're an ACC team, it's a bad loss.
I hate that as principle.
Miami has more wins, fewer losses, 0 blowout losses. We'll get to that in a second. 0 losses to less than 500 teams. And yet Bama's ahead of them. All right. let's look at what Bama's done the last couple of weeks. They beat Mercer. They beat a losing Auburn team, and they went on the road and got their butts kicked by Oklahoma, who hasn't been an FBS team since September. Okay, you compare Miami and Syracuse. This is not even a contest. Okay, they'll say, well, they beat Georgia. That was months ago. I mean, that was a long time ago. Okay, let's look at what they've done recently. Stop telling me what they did. There is no comparison. They also have one more victory. It's a joke. It really is a joke. By the way, let's also look at the last that I'll give you. Where was my notes here? Let me go back here. I was ready for this today. Man, I had here. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Let's look at bowl eligible teams. Miami played 6 bowl eligible teams on the road. Their record's 4-2. Guess how many bowl eligible teams Alabama played on the road? 4.
Schedule.
That's what their record is. 1-3. Okay. I am tired of some of the metrics the SEC pumps out about, well, they're not in the top 25 because it's controlled by the AP voters. Miami had a 4-2 record against bowl-eligible teams. Alabama's on the road. Alabama's 1-3. That alone tells me that Alabama, when you get out of the comfort of your stadium and you have to go on a road and play a real team, not Mercer, not somebody else, that this team doesn't belong. And never mind the fact they screwed B. Look at BYU. Look on a blind resume test with SMU.
Oh, yeah, I was going to mention that.
I mean, and I'm just making Miami's case. We're not even getting to SMU and BYU.
I think SMU is properly rated right now.
They're properly rated, but if they lose, what's going to happen? They're still going to have a better resume than Alabama.
Well, we can get to that. But
and BYU is getting totally hosed at 10-2. Look at their resume.
I agree with BYU. Real quick, I would just like to say to all of the expansionists out there, I told you so, because I knew this was going to happen. I knew it. I knew this was going to happen. At the beginning of the season, you can go back on this show and watch. And I was like, the only thing an expanded playoff is going to do is going to give a 2 or 3 loss Bama or Georgia a free pass into the playoff when they otherwise wouldn't be. This is a 4-team playoff. You know what your 4 teams are? Not Bama. That's for sure.
Well, listen, I'm okay giving a 2 or 3 loss team a pass as long as you're comparing them favorably. But when you're just giving them a pass for a brand versus comparing them to other teams, that's my problem. You're throwing out SMU.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying I knew when they expanded the playoff that the big they, right, would value the brands more. The best way to value, to decide a champion is a 4-team playoff, because you expand it more, you just give mulligans to all these teams, the good brands. You're not actually giving more opportunities to the teams that almost made it. You're giving mulligans to the big brands. And I knew this would happen. And of course they did. I said last night, I said it was going to be I said they would put Alabama over Miami on the last show. I knew they would because that's who they are. Okay. Because it's all a scam, because it's all rigged. Okay. I'll just put it this way. I don't know if you're familiar with the terms black-pilled and white-pilled, aka like depressed and hopeful, right? So in the short term, I am black-pilled for college football because I think it is clearly run by the big 2 and they just bully everyone else, and it's not about winning, and it's not about merit, and it's all scam, and it's all lies, and it's all rigged, right? In the long term, I am white-pilled because I do actually think in the long term, this will all kind of eat itself and it'll come out in the wash, and we'll have a top division of 60 teams, because these big brands are going to, in the SEC, are going to, and the Big Ten, not really as much as the Big Ten, the SEC, the Oklahomas, the LSUs are going to start to realize, hey, we need some other teams to beat up. And what they're going to do is, when it all merges together into one super league, they're going to kind of drag in some of the other teams to be middling teams, and they'll get a bargaining thing. We'll have all the regulation. It'll all come together. So long term, I'm hopeful for the future of the sport. But as it is right now, it sucks. You're right. I agree with all of the points that you just made. But I've just kind of I'm already gone through the 5 stages of grief last year with Florida State. I'm to acceptance, and I've been at acceptance since, last February. So I can't really say I'm mad about these results, because I expected them. I knew what would happen. And so I got my expectations. Like, this is what was going to happen. It was obvious. Like, the committee, and let me tell you something else that's going to happen. If SMU loses, they're not going to be in the playoff.
Well, and
guaranteed. Guaranteed. They will put in Bama over a 2-loss SMU, who, by the way, they still think is a group of 5 team because they just joined this year. It still got that stigma, right? That they don't draw TV numbers, SMU, right? So they will leave out a 2-loss non-Power 5 champ.
Yeah, but the championship doesn't matter. Remember that data point?
Yeah, that only applies to the Big Ten and the SEC who make the money. I'm serious. It only applies. They will leave out SMU if they lose. They will do it. Mark my words. If SMU loses, they will get left out.
It just makes me sick. It really
does. It sucks and it's sucky, but at least, it sucks, but it's not. It's overcomable, and it's overcomable in the fact that if you just win all your games, you're going to be it.
Well, yeah,
so but you do control. Like I know you hate the term "control your own destiny." You control your future in that if you just win all your games. No, you're not going to be treated fairly. You're not given a fair shot, but you're given a shot.
BYU deserves a better shake than this.
Yes, obviously.
Too.
I agree. You're not given a fair shot, but you are given a shot. If you just win all your games, leave no doubt, you will be in the play.
Well, that's hard to do. I mean,
it is hard to do. It is absolutely hard. But if you want to be national champions, that's what's required.
Well, and the other part, they rigged the system so that, for instance, I mean, again, I'm going to go back to Duke. Duke was 9-3 this year, not even being ranked at all. Tell me why they're not ranked and Illinois and Syracuse are. I mean, Duke lost to Georgia Tech.
I'm not going to make the case for Illinois or Missouri because
But those are the data points that they use to shove it in your face that they deserve.
I know. It's all scam. But I will say Duke's schedule was extremely easy this year.
Well, okay.
As Power 5 schedules go, their Duke schedule was very easy.
Okay, but we can start tossing out Indiana. I mean, Indiana's schedule was easy. Texas.
But Indiana went 11-1.
Okay, I understand. But Duke, being on the back
blew out everybody by 60 points.
Duke has a better. Duke should be. Again, look at Illinois, who they beat, and look who Duke beat. It's not much of a difference.
Yeah, margin of victory, and Duke has 3 losses. Illinois has 1, and their 1 loss is to Ohio
Illinois
State.
has 3 losses.
Sorry, you said Indiana.
No, I know, but I'm trying to compare them to Illinois and the back end.
Oh yeah, no, that's obviously the bottom.
The
bottom parts of the rankings
to prop up the ones at the top.
Yes, they just make up whatever the bottom rankings are in order to justify their top.
Yeah, and
12.
so they knock out the ACC teams, or they prop them down low. They prop up Big Ten and SEC at the bottom.
Yeah.
It's just
the
whole system is rigged, and
it is rigged. Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm not in a good mood. I just think it's crap. And
it is crap.
Better.
But I don't care as much. I think the regular season matters more than the postseason, in my opinion. College football's got the best regular season ever. We just witnessed it, the last 12, 13 weeks. We got conference championships coming up. I care about the games more than I care about. We're just going to
pretend that Miami's resume didn't include an SEC team that they bow raced on the road, Florida.
We're not going to pretend that. I don't pretend that.
The committee does.
Well, yes, because they're all a bunch of partisan hacks. And by partisan, I mean the 2 political parties, the Big Ten and the SEC.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I know. I agree. It's a scam. But here's the thing. I'm still going to watch it. It's still the greatest sport. I care about the games. That's what I watch. I don't watch the ranking show. The ranking show, I don't care.
But I'm so tired of seeing Tennessee and Alabama and Notre Dame and Penn State. I mean, I want to see some of the new blood, Okay,
Notre Dame, Penn State, Tennessee are all good teams this year.
I understand, but I like to see some of the new SMU.
Yeah. So why are you such a hater about Boise State getting invited to the playoff then, huh?
They're group of 5. They're not going.
Yeah, okay. And if they join the Big 12 next year, what would you say? Yeah, who else used to be group of 5? Cincinnati, UCF, Houston. These power SMU. You know who else used to be a group of 5? SMU. SMU is a group of 5. So I don't want to hear it. You're all big on SMU, right? And you're big SMU because they joined the conference. Oh, they joined the conference. Well, Boise and SMU are not that far apart talent-wise.
SMU was historically a great program.
Oh, they were good for 6 years when they, dropped giant pallets of cash in front of a bunch of Heisman winners.
Historically in the 40s and 50s and 60s.
Yeah. Okay.
They're historically a great program.
Yeah, Boise State's historically a good program. They have the 3rd highest winning percentage of all time.
You couldn't tell me what state Boise's in.
I know.
All right. I guess we're enough with the ranking show.
All right. I think we should talk about the upcoming games because we've got some good ones.
I'm a big Clemson fan now
I'm sure you are. Yeah, are you?
because I want SMU to get in.
No,
That's
no.
what-
If you no, don't. I'm telling you right now. If you want SMU to get in, root for SMU.
Oh, I think it could happen.
It won't happen. You will be sad and disappointed. Root for SMU. I'm telling you. I know how this works. Okay, it is a scam. Do not root for if you want Clemson to get in, then root for Clemson. If you want SMU to get in, root for SMU.
Okay.
Leave no doubt. Too big to ring. I'm serious. Like they will get left out. You think they leave out? They left out at 10-2 Miami, who is a lot more talented, a lot more blue chips. They're going to leave out at 10-2 SMU.
We'll see.
All right, let's talk about some games. So,
Okay.
First off, on Friday night, we've got Western Kentucky, Texas. No, I'm just kidding. I know you don't.
Please don't.
I know you don't care about that. Do you have any Tulane Army thoughts, American?
No,
Okay, it's in West Point.
that's cool.
It's going to be cold and windy, and I think probably Army takes it because the Louisiana,
Louisiana
Southern
boys
team
don't know what they're going to do up there.
they're going to go up there. It's going to be 9 degrees, sleeting, and Army's just going to run the ball. And yeah, so I would take Army in that game. Under is the play in that as well. Under 45.5. And then we got the big show between the two best G5 teams. You got the go-go offense versus the the deserved Heisman winner. Got Boise State versus UNLV for the Mountain West title. This is a play-in game for the playoff. 100% lock it in. The winner of this game gets the G5 slot in the playoff. And boy, this should be a good game because really the UNLV was the only team that managed to slow down Ashton Genty all year long, including number 1 Oregon, by the way. And the question is, can they repeat that performance? Or did they use all their cards and now Boise kind of knows what they are and what to do with them? And by the way, this is in Boise, Idaho, on the Smurf turf. Thoughts?
I think UNLV is going to win the game outright.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
I think they know what they're dealing with. They're going to feel comfortable playing with them. And I think it's just Boise State's been living up here all year, and they're going to come down to earth.
Okay. Interesting.
Give me UNLV on money line.
UNLV money line. Interesting. Okay. You think the go-go offense is going to keep going?
I think so. I think they're playing pretty well, and I think they're going to get them this week.
All right. We'll see what Barry Odom can do. Shocker. I'm taking Boise.
I've been on that train since week 1. So.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I've been on the Boise train. I'm going to keep riding the Boise train. I saw them play in week 1. I was like, that's it. That's the G5 team right there. And there's no reason for me to change my opinion now. This is in Boise, Idaho. It's going to be really cold. Go-go offense might be more of a slow offense.
Yeah, but they got a pretty good over-under at Vegas, so...
Yeah, that's because Boise has like the number 4 offense in the country.
Yeah.
And I mean, look, UNLV's got a good offense too. Boise's D-line murdered UNLV last time. I don't know if you watched that game the last time they played, Boise UNLV, but UNLV could not block Boise for crap. They got like, was it 6 or 7 sacks, I think?
Yeah.
So I think Boise's defense is sneakily not awful. Give me Boise. I don't know if they cover or not. I'm not betting it, but I mean, I just kind of think like, also, I think they'll have some stuff schemed up against it. If UNLV loads up against the run again, Maddox Madsen will just hit that a really good tight end they got up the same for big yardage. So, all right. No Mac thoughts?
No.
Me neither. Big 12 title game. Iowa State, Arizona State. Noon kickoff. Rocco Becht versus...
This line feels wrong.
The line feels wrong. ASU minus 2.5.
Yeah, this feels like Arizona State should be much bigger favorite.
Well, I don't know if you're aware of this, but Jordan Tyson's out.
I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah. So that may be contributing to the line.
Okay.
Their 1,000-yard receiver, Jordan Tyson, is out of the game. He is completely ruled out. So will that matter if they just run Cam Scatabo?
No, he ran all over Arizona the other day.
Yes, he kind of runs all over everybody, so it maybe won't matter that much. Sam Levitt, good quarterback. He can run. They're probably gonna have to use his legs in this one. Iowa State does have a solid, well-coached defense. Shocker, a Matt Campbell Iowa State team has a solid, well-coached, good tackling defense. In other news, water wet. But I lean Iowa State here just because I think if it's a close game down towards the end, the Arizona State is pretty shallow at receiver besides Jordan Tyson. They don't have a lot of dudes to throw the ball to. And so if it comes down to like a 2-minute drill where they have to drive down the field, they can't just rely on Cam Scatterbo. I trust Rocco Becht, and Iowa State's got some good receivers too. I don't think one of them was Noel, something. They got some good receivers. I trust Rocco Becht and the Iowa State receiving game more in a close game situation than I do Arizona State. I think it's been a great year for Arizona State, but I think the fun train ends here, at least for now, and Iowa State not caps off their first 10-win season with a playoff appearance.
Yeah, I'm going to go differently here. I think Arizona State's just a hot team, and I think when you got a hot team, you just keep going with the hot hand. I know, if Tyson's out, that's going to hurt them. But, man, that team is just rolling right now, and I don't think anything is going to give their way.
Maybe. You might be right.
The Iowa State team I saw against Kansas State the other night was just dreadful. I mean, Beck wasn't throwing the ball well. I mean, they did enough to win, but I don't think they're going to be able to score enough points. I think Arizona State's going to score enough and beat this team. I'll take Arizona.
Okay. Nice. And then at 4 o'clock on Saturday, we've got the big one.
Rematch.
Georgia, Texas, the rematch. The SEC. The old guard versus the new blood. Sark versus Kirby, the Saban assistant showdown. There's so many storylines going to this game. I don't even know where to begin thinking about this. I think you got to go back to the game in Austin, but honestly, these teams have kind of gone in opposite directions since that game. Georgia obviously came out with the victory there, dominated the line of scrimmage with their defensive line, kind of whooped up on Texas's O-line, which was really surprising to everybody. But since that game, these teams seem to have diverged. Neither team really has looked fantastic offensively and lived up to their personnel on offense. But honestly, I think Texas's D-line has just been really good in every game. And I know they've played some easier teams, but it's just been really good since that Georgia game. And I don't trust Quinn Ewers, but I trust Sark. So I think I lean Texas here. I don't really, the line's 3. I don't know. I think Texas probably takes this one just because I think if Carson Beck has struggles, you're stuck with him. If Quinn Ewers has struggles, you can go to Arch. And I think we may see Arch actually be the difference in this game.
Well, that'd be interesting. I mean, hate this game's played in Atlanta because it's like another home game for Georgia. Do you see where Georgia...
Texas travels well. Yeah. They will show up to Atlanta.
Do you see it's possible that Georgia
SEC
could play 4 of the next 5 games in the Georgia Dome or the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, whatever it's called?
It's possible.
Yeah, they could play a first-round game. They could play the...
Well, that means they'd lose.
Whatever it was like...
They'd have to lose the SEC title game.
Yeah. But there's a path where they could play basically everything at the...
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I just... Tell me which Georgia team we're going to see, and I can figure this game out.
I don't know. There's no way to know.
That team that played against Georgia Tech the other night will get smoked by Texas.
Yep.
Absolutely smoked. Texas has been running the ball better. Ewers does bother me at times, I think, with his inconsistency, particularly in the red zone. That's why they do have packages for Manning down there.
Yeah.
But I ultimately probably believe that Texas will learn from the first game. I think they'll be better prepared. And I think this will probably be a low-scoring game, would be my guess.
I tend to agree because I think both defenses are better than both offenses.
Yeah, and but I kind of like Texas. I lean Texas in this rematch.
I agree.
And I think Texas is set up to go on a run here.
Yeah, that's certainly possible. Although, thing you'll look out for if Georgia is going to win, it will be through Texas's injuries on the offensive line, and they just get blown up by the Georgia D-line. If Georgia wins, that's what will happen. That is a cause for concern for Texas. Kelvin Banks, is he out for good?
I did not see an injury report on that.
Okay, he is injured. I don't know if he's out for good, but they have a injury, I think, at guard as well. So if Georgia wins, it will be with their defensive line just beating the crap out of Texas's O-line, which happened the first time when they were all healthy. So it's certainly possible, although the D-line has not looked fantastic in recent weeks. But if they get up for the game, it probably will. That could happen. So let's keep an eye on that. We have also got Penn State, Oregon in the Big Ten title game. Penn State, boy, are they happy to be here. They lost. They didn't get over the hump of Ohio State, and they still got to the Big Ten title game. Congrats, Penn State. No more divisions. Look at you. You broke through by not changing anything. Oregon, they're kind of in the same place as Texas. They arrive into the conference. The new kids on the block, they dominate the conference. They are pulling in, we'll get to this a little later, but Oregon is pulling in incredible recruiting class. They are set up to dominate the Big Ten in the future. And Oregon is really talented. They've got a good D-line. Both of those guys, I think, are completely healthy now. No more load management from them. Tez Johnson is back from injury, Oregon's receiver that really went off against Ohio State. Boy, is he good. And Evan Stewart has really emerged in the meantime and kind of coming out of his shell a little bit. So I think, man, you just can't pick against Oregon. They're too good. Like, I like Penn State. Their defense especially is really good, but I just don't see how you can really, Penn State can't score with Oregon. Like, Oregon's offense is elite. You can't put everything through Tyler Warren.
No. It's hard to pick against Oregon right now because they did finish the season undefeated. They are, clearly the best team in the country right now. I can't pick against them, although the game plan is slow it down. Tyler Warren's going to have a big game. We're going to have to turn the ball over. Dylan Gabriel's got to make some mistakes. I mean, there is a path here. If Oregon does make mistakes, I think coming back out to the East, playing in what I think will probably be a very Penn State friendly crowd in Chicago.
Probably, although Oregon does travel. It's in Indianapolis. Oregon does travel well too, and this is their first Big Ten title game.
I think it's going to be it'll be predominantly Penn State.
Yeah, at least 60, if not 70, Penn State probably.
So I mean, there's a path here, but I think Oregon's the reason they're the favorite, and I expect them probably to win.
I tend to agree with that. And now we've got the Clemson SMU ACC championship game in Charlotte, North Carolina. You go first on this one. What are your thoughts on Clemson SMU?
Well, Clemson's got, if you look on paper, I think Clemson's got more talent than this SMU.
Oh, by far, yes.
It's really just a question in my mind is can Cade Klubnik play a turnover-free game? If he could play a turnover-free game and be consistent, I think they can hang with SMU's offense because SMU's going to score. Okay, there's been they've been beating teams up, but you saw in some games late October, early November, where like they played around with Boston College. I mean, they allowed some teams to stay in it. And if Clemson offensively plays well and doesn't turn it over, they're going to be able to hang with SMU. So I don't think this is going to be a blowout. I think this will probably be a close game. And again, I think it would just be hysterical for Clemson to win because first of all, it would create chaos on Sunday. Two, wouldn't it just be great? That's the biggest middle finger to everybody on the committees to have Clemson make the playoff. I just think that would be awesome.
Yeah, because they all hate Dabo.
They all hate Dabo and they don't want him there. So.
Yeah.
I actually, why SMU's had a great season, I'm going to take Clemson here. I
am taking Clemson also, but for a different reason. Mine is more of a, let me ask you this. What is the main reason going into the season that you really liked SMU?
Well, I thought
win total wise.
Win total?
Yeah. It's their schedule, right?
I predicted them to go 10-2.
Yeah, but the reason for that was their schedule, right? Like partially.
Yes, the schedule was really easy.
SMU has not faced a team that is built like Clemson. And Clemson is not, they've fallen off a little from their high point as a dynasty. Clemson has top 100 players. They have 5 stars. They have, NFL guys and like lots of them. SMU has not faced a team physically like Clemson this year. And so because of that, SMU has a really impressive offense. They have a really good play calling, great effort, great everything. But they just kind of, this just feels a little bit like a G5 team playing up against like a big boy.
Well, but
In roster construction terms.
maybe so, but I will tell you, I mean, you saw what Lenora Sellers did to the Clemson. Kevin Jennings isn't that different. And, I mean, he's different in some ways. He's not as physically imposing, but he's got the same tools.
South Carolina has better dudes on the O-line and D-line than SMU.
Well, yeah, but I'd argue SMU's probably got more skill position players.
You're right. But I just physically in the trenches, like they have not faced a team like Clemson. And so for that reason, I think Clemson takes it. If SMU can score, like Clemson's secondary is not like amazing. So if they can turn this into a shootout, I think SMU will have a better chance to win. But if it's in the third quarter and it's 21-14, I think Clemson probably runs away with it.
So if Georgia beats Texas, does that mean would get a Clemson at Tech? No. Clemson at Notre Dame? No, we'd get a Clemson Notre Dame game, wouldn't we? Because Notre Dame's going to get that 5th spot. And you got to figure, no, they dropped Boise to 12.
No. Wait. If SMU wins?
Well, I mean, the question is, who's going to be the 5th? Is Clemson going to be the 12th?
The 5th is going to be Notre Dame. If Clemson wins, they're 12. They have 3 losses. Yes. No. Just look at the rankings. Like the lowest ranked team. Yeah. Like they're ranked the lowest right now. Like, yes, they would be 12.
Yeah, that means Notre Dame would be 5th. We get Clemson going to Notre Dame.
We've had some good Clemson Notre Dame games. That'd be another nice.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah. I just think it'd be funny. I just want us to get a matchup of Clemson, Alabama, 3 lost teams in like the semifinals. That'd be great.
Yeah, we'll see. So, I think my guess is that Arizona State, Iowa State will probably be a good game. I think SMU, Clemson will be a good game. Maybe Texas, Georgia. I think the only blowout will probably be the Oregon State.
I think you are right as well there. All right, I think we got a little time now to talk about National Signing Day, which was today.
Yes.
And boy, we got some interesting storylines coming out of National Signing Day. The biggest of all, it would be that Texas seems to be trending towards the number 1 recruiting class in the nation. There is, let me see real quick.
Are they going to overtake Oregon?
They are right now. They're number 1 right now. Oregon's 3, actually. Bama's at 2. Who is there's one uncommitted guy. Yes, Justice Terry is number 9 ranked player. He's a defensive lineman, an absolute beast. He's either going to Georgia or Texas, and the winner of that recruiting battle will get the number 1 class almost assuredly from just the way the class calculator works. So the number 1 team in the country, the recruiting crown is going to go to either Texas or Georgia. Shocker, Saban assistants, in massive programs, maximizing resources, recruiting well. Everyone there is surprised, clearly. Big story, Oregon not only keeps a couple players from getting flipped, they flip Naheem what's his name? Osford?
Yeah, I can't.
Offord. They flip Naheem Offord from Ohio State. He is a high 5-star cornerback, number 12 overall player by On3. He is elite. He is super long and is going to be basically Oregon is like seeing the receivers on Ohio State and like, we need dudes to guard those dudes. So great get for them. Oregon has 2 5-star receivers committed, DeCorian Moore and Dallas Wilson, who Florida made a huge push for late. Oregon was able to fend that off. Oregon putting together a truly impressive class. Like this is the kind of class where, they're going to finish ahead of Ohio State. 4 5-stars, 15 4-stars, only 2 3-stars. They are putting their stamp on the Big Ten, and it honestly is kind of looking. A lot of the other traditional Big Ten teams are looking around, being like, "Dang, did we just let the wolf into the hen house? Do we just let the wolf inside the farm?" Like,
yeah,
that's kind of what the feeling is for signing day with Oregon, is like they're just going off and all gas, no brakes, gas pedal down. Recruiting wise, they are building a Bama, Georgia, Texas level roster out there. And Oregon, I would not surprise me if Oregon, if they don't win the title this year, will win one in the next couple of years. Bama, They held on to Keelan Russell, a top 5 overall player, quarterback from Texas. He's a really, really elite thrower of the ball, a great ball placement. And Bama, they're not finished yet, but they're currently ranked number 2 overall class. Obviously, if Georgia grabs Justice, they will drop down to 3. Is at currently the number 11 class. They have flipped an insane, I think their top 10 players, like 8 of them have been flips. They have currently 14 4-stars. They are trending just really hot this week. They've basically protected all their players from getting flipped and flipped a whole bunch of other people from other schools, including places like Georgia and Auburn. And they've got an edge rusher from USC. Like Florida has really rebounded. They're confident in Billy Napier, and it shows in the recruiting trail. Miami trended down a little bit. They lost 2 players to a flip. They'll finish with the top 15 class. Not a bad class for Miami, but Miami was kind of going into this last couple weeks thinking they could maybe make a run at like 8 or 7, and that's just not really possible right now. Auburn kind of treading water when they thought going into this week they might be able to jump to top 5 or maybe even go after number 1. They kept Deuce Knight, which was huge for Auburn. They needed the quarterback. Massive win for them. Well, I know Ole Miss was pushing for him late. He is extremely talent wise. He's got incredible tools, but he's a little unpolished. So not sure if he'll start year 1. They might bring in a transfer there, but Auburn 14 4-stars, 1 5-star, and 3-star number 7 class. Good class for Hugh Freeze. Not the big wins they were hoping for overall going into the week, but still a solid class. Michigan, the big story, obviously Bryce Underwood. That doesn't just come with Bryce Underwood. When you get Bryce Underwood, you don't just get Bryce Underwood, because everybody wants to come play for Bryce Underwood. And that has shown today. They kept their 5-star offensive tackle. That's huge. Get somebody to protect Bryce Underwood. 5-star tackles are rare on offense, are rare and hard to come by. So you want to get those as locked in as possible. They got some good defensive players, another defensive lineman that I'm sure they will groom into an NFL first rounder, good corners. They also picked up a flip from Pitt of Bryce Underwood's current high school teammate receiver, who's actually really talented. He's a top 100 player, along with a safety and some good corners as well. They got a really nice back 7 class. Ohio State, it's a good class, not the best by Ohio State standards. And I say that it's number 5 overall. So that's elite for anybody else. But for Ohio State's usually trying to go for that number 1 slot. And that's just not really within reach this year. They did get Tavion St. Clair, who's a quarterback. He's also a top 5 overall player. 3 quarterbacks inside the top 5, depending on the recruiting service you use this year. Really great QB talent at the top, a little more spread out once you get outside the top 50. Also, remember with these guys, especially with quarterbacks, 50% or more are just complete busts and will transfer next year. So you have to remember that these are highly rated guys. Some of them will hit immediately, like DJ Lagway did this year. Some of them will be busts. The bust rate on quarterbacks is over 50%, minimum like 55 over that some years. That's why the best teams try to recruit a 5-star quarterback every year, because you just don't know. And sometimes you just don't know. Quarterback's one of the toughest positions to really tell coming out of high school. And just because the burdens they're placed on the position mentally. Tennessee currently is at number 10 class. They got some good defensive players, wide receivers. They got George McIntyre, quarterback, solid, good class. They maybe if they make a run in the playoff of sorts, they might be able to flip a defensive player that's currently committed to a defensive lineman currently committed to LSU. I don't remember his name. LSU has lost some players in recent weeks to flip to various places, Auburn, Ohio State, Miami, a couple of those places. LSU, still good class, number 8. And you also got A&M at 9, Notre Dame at 12. USC is looking like they actually flipped Jakeem Stewart, a huge get for them, number 16 overall player, defensive lineman. He's the kind of defensive player that normally goes to Georgia or LSU or Texas. And that's a huge positive sign for Lincoln Riley. I'm trying to build out that defense. He will be an immediate starter as a freshman. Also, last week they flipped Hussein Longstreet from A&M. Good quarterback to get in for Lincoln Riley. Let's see, scrolling down the list here. Other notes. Ole Miss got a 5-star wide receiver. He signed today, I believe. Yes, he signed Caleb Cunningham. He'll be really good in Lane Kiffin's offense. Nebraska rolling in number 20. Look at them, moving up in the list. South Carolina also has made some moves today. They almost flipped a good safety from Georgia, but they weren't able to do it. They got about 10 4-stars. They're looking really good coming out of this. Remember, signing day this year is actually 3 days. The early signing period. Most of the stuff has happened on day one. So South Carolina really kind of capitalizing on what they've got this season. Georgia Tech, the highest rated recruiting class in the history of recruiting services for Georgia Tech, number 22. If they can hold on to this class, this will be huge for the Brent Key and the Georgia Tech program. Peyton Joseph is, by some services, a 5-star offensive line. Well, wait, apparently in the last 20 minutes, Peyton Joseph is the interior offensive lineman that got signed last 20 minutes. What happened to...
It changes. You just got to be...
Yeah. So Georgia Tech may lose their 5-star interior offensive lineman, which would be a huge loss for them. That's not entirely... It's still up in the air. Hopefully they can hold on to him. Still, 22 for Georgia Tech is a huge get for Brent Key. That's a massive win. Florida State has made some good flips, but they are 27. So they got a few high-end players, but then not a whole lot else. Going on the list, SMU is probably looking to sign their highest-rated recruiting class ever. Colorado is going to make a push for that as well. SMU at 31, Colorado at 33. Baylor, I'm just going to touch on Baylor just for a sec because they're my team. We were able to Baylor's at 30, anywhere between 36 and 31, depending on the service.
They're getting ready to lose UConn.
What?
They're
Yeah,
getting ready to lose
I was watching that earlier. Don't get me started on Dan Hurley, man. Caleb Burns was getting pushed really hard by Oregon and Ole Miss, and Baylor was able to lock him down, rumored through an upgraded NIL deal. We just kind of paid up and said, hey, we need you, a linebacker. And we also got a 4-star edge rusher and running back. So Baylor, looking up for Dave Aranda, not a horrible class, but improvement in the future if we want to really compete.
Yeah, I think what's interesting is the high school recruiting is great, but where you're starting to see some action in the portal, you've seen a lot of players enter the portal. The big-time quarterbacks have entered. Miller Moss is in the portal.
I did see that, yeah.
He's going to get some looks. I think Auburn's going to be one of the teams that's going to be looking at him. Jackson Arnold went into the portal this afternoon. That's another high-profile.
Oh, yeah, I did see that. That'll be interesting.
Another high-profile 5-star.
Somebody said Jackson Arnold it would look good in USC colors.
Yeah, imagine that. And I think Auburn will be in the play for that one as well. I think don't be surprised if Texas A&M gives him a look.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a lot of, those are a couple big names that I think will be at high-profile places. I saw a lot of different schools mentioned with those two guys. And I don't think we're done yet. Well, I guess the portal, when's the portal open? I guess next week, really, technically.
I mean, whatever. It's open. Even though it's not open, it's open.
But yeah, so those are those two big quarterbacks. I don't, again, there's other people that have said they're entering, but I kind of look at those big names. It'll be interesting after this weekend to see what other names enter. So yeah, so a lot of stuff's going to be happening.
Yeah.
So to me now, you always have to evaluate an off season, not just to the recruiting class, but the portal additions, which will be coming throughout the holiday season.
That is true to some extent. I'd say 85% is through traditional recruiting still, with the possible exceptions of maybe Lane and Dion are the only ones that go above 15%. And honestly, for the top tier players, including some coach turnover and situations, they usually sign in recruiting and then they usually stay because they're that good and the teams just pay up to keep them.
Yeah.
Because the opportunity cost of switching is just usually not there for the top players when your current school that you like, with the coach that you like that recruited you, will just pay up to keep you. So if you want the best players and you want to compete for the title, you have to sign those elite recruiting classes. And that's what Oregon and Texas have been doing.
Yeah.
Texas, just like Oregon, came into this conference out signing the other schools in the SEC. They are looking especially just absolutely elite. Like, they are building the kind of dynasty that Kirby had 2 years ago, and still does, by the way, Kirby. But Kirby, not number one. Texas they might be number one, depending on that one last player flip.
Yeah.
Texas, man, they look good. They got 5-star receivers. They got everybody. And with Arch Manning next year, also portal not open, but there's some message board scuttlebutt about Quinn Ewers coming back and portaling next year.
Well, he's not going to be in Texas. We know.
No, he won't be. He won't be at Texas. But the thing is, he may not be as desirable to the NFL as he thinks that he might be. And if he comes back, he will definitely be in demand in the portal. And sometimes a change of scenery, less bright lights can do wonders for a quarterback. Just ask Kyle McCord.
Yeah. He would be, there'd be a lot of places that Quinn Ewers would fit in.
He'd be a great Wake Forest quarterback.
Oh, he'd do better than that.
Oh, I know he can, but that's just the slow. He would do really well in the slow mesh system, I'm saying.
Yeah. All right. So we will get back together next, I guess they can't do it Sunday night to talk about the conference championship playoff, but I guess we can do it Monday night, maybe.
Monday night. All right. We will be back Monday night with conference championship reactions.
And our first playoff break-in.
Yes, because on this Sunday, we will have the playoff.
Yeah, crazy.
Revealed. And you can watch Dad blow a gasket when SMU loses and is left out of the playoff for Alabama, because that's what will happen if SMU loses. Just saying.
Serenity now. Serenity.
They don't pay me to tell lies.
No.
They don't pay me at all.
All right. Well, enjoy the games, and we'll be back, and hopefully we'll get some people in the chat on maybe Monday night and can debate.
We got one person watching, but
do we? Okay. Hello there. All right. Well, have a good week, and we'll see you after the games.
All right.
Good night, Allie.
Good night.